The resignation of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn is raising new questions, as the White House reportedly knew weeks ago he misled Vice President Mike Pence about conversations he had with the Russian ambassador about U.S. sanctions against Russia.
We've been reviewing and evaluating this issue with respect to General Flynn on a daily basis for a few weeks, trying to ascertain the truth. We got to a point not based on a legal issue, but based on a trust issue, where the level of trust between the President and General Flynn had eroded to the point where he felt he had to make a change.
The Trump administration was made aware of the phone calls by the Justice Department on January 26th. Mr. Pence didn't learn about the discussion of sanctions until February 9th, according to his spokesman. He had vouched publicly for Mr. Flynn in a television interview in January.
I talked to General Flynn yesterday, and the conversations that took place at that time were not in any way related to new U.S. sanctions.
The White House maintained there was nothing illegal about the phone conversations Mr. Flynn had with the Russian ambassador during the transition. Others say this is a violation of the Logan Act, which is meant to prevent private citizens from manipulating foreign affairs without the permission or involvement of the U.S. government. The Kremlin, having also denied the Russian ambassador and Mr. Flynn discussed sanctions, declined to comment.
We don't want to comment on this in any way. These are internal matters of the Americans. These are internal matters of President Trump's administration. This is not our concern.
Other Russian officials were more critical, saying the controversy has nothing to do with national security, but is a witch hunt for anyone who wants to normalize relations with Russia.
This situation is aimed at creating an impression among ordinary people and in the U.S. political establishment that Russia is still a strategic opponent, to put it mildly.
Democrats and some Republicans are concerned about the links between the Trump administration and the Kremlin. Meanwhile, the White House is trying to figure out who is leaking information to the media.
We're very concerned about leaks, particularly as goes intelligence and security information, and it's extremely concerning.
If the Republicans' take away from this is that we have a leaking problem and not that we have a problem with the Russian government and its relationships with the Trump administration, they're taking the wrong lesson away.
Mr. Flynn's contacts with the Russian ambassador is one of a number of U.S. counterintelligence investigations into Russian government contacts with people close to Mr. Trump. Democrats and some Republicans have called for congressional hearings to take sworn statements from Mr. Flynn to get to the bottom of what the president knew and when.